Hello everyone, I'm Video Game Hazard, back for some more Pokemon Fire Red. In the last episode, we finished up exploring the Sevi Islands, and this time, well, you may be wondering why I'm heading down to Route 19. Well, that's because I have a mechanic that I probably should have shown off earlier, actually, but am saving it for now. So, if we go into our bag, you may remember that I got the Versus Seeker a long time ago, but we've never used it, so let's go ahead and see what that does. As you can see, it allows us to rematch trainers that respond to the Versus Seeker's signal. Let's go ahead and battle this guy. I think this is who I wanted to fight. Let's see, are you Swimmer Matthew? You are! So, some trainers who will rematch you will be at a higher level. This guy previously had a Poliwag and a Poliwhirl, both at level 30. Well, I don't like that you paralyzed me. Well, as you can see, his Poliwag is evolved into a Poliwhirl, and it's level 49 now, so much higher level than it was before. I'm gonna switch to Blitz just to make this go by faster, because I don't feel like dealing with Jeremy's paralysis right now. Oh gosh, using Belly Drum. That's a move that cuts the user's HP in half and maximizes their attack stat. So, it can be very useful if used in the right situation. But this was not the right situation, so this Poliwhirl was kind of dumb. Anyway, his next Pokemon will be that Poliwhirl, or formerly Poliwhirl, which is now the evolution Poliwrath, which I don't think we've seen in battle before. This thing is part fighting type, and has very high physical attacks, so it is not something to be messed with. Unless, of course, you have an electric type. And I took it out in one hit. I'm also 10 levels higher than it, so that probably has something to do with it. But yeah, that is just an example of, you know, how some trainers can be at a higher level when you rematch them. I'm not going to show every rematch trainer, especially since, like, a lot of them don't have higher levels. But if you would like to see which trainers can be rematched, I recommend just looking at the various Bulbapedia pages for every area in the game to see which trainers can be rematched. But anyway, we're gonna head off to Vermilion City because we have some more loose ends to take care of. So, for the most part, this episode is gonna be talking about loose ends and also talking about things that we can't do. The first thing I want to talk about is Mew, the Pokemon that Mewtwo was cloned from. As I've mentioned before, there was a playground rumor back in the day that related to the truck down by Vermilion City Port. We cannot get there right now, but the rumor basically went that if you checked that truck, Mew would appear. This is false. In the original Pokemon Red and Blue, there was a glitch that allowed you to try and catch Mew, but Fire Red and Leaf Green do not have this glitch. And as such, the only way to obtain it was through limited time events back in 2005 and 2006. However, only one of these events was held in North America, at Toys R Us, of all places, in 2006. That was the only way to get a Mew if you were living in America. This event extended to Fire Red, Leaf Green, as well as Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. But nowadays, you are not able to obtain Mew legitimately. So I will unfortunately not be able to show that. Back on 5 Island to talk about the next event that we can't do. That being the Mystic Ticket, which you would have received through a mystery gift back in the day. And if I could find my town map, it's right at the top, of course. The Mystic Ticket would have allowed you to visit Naval Rock, which, once you have the ticket for that, an island will appear in between 4 and 5 Island. This Naval Rock allowed you to catch 2 different legendary Pokemon from the Johto region. At the top of Naval Rock, you would have found Ho-Oh, and at the bottom, you would have found Lugia. these were essentially the mascots for Pokemon Gold and Silver, as well as the remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But like with the Mew event, Naval Rock is inaccessible. The next mystery gift that you could have gotten back in the day was the Aurora ticket. Once you had the Aurora ticket, you would be able to visit Birth Island, which is near 6 and 7 Islands. On Birth Island, you would have encountered a puzzle, and after completing this puzzle, you would have been able to catch the mythical Pokemon Deoxys from the Hoenn region. Deoxys has a normal form as well as 3 alternative forms: the attack form, the defense form, and the speed form. In Pokemon Fire Red, you would have received the attack form. In Pokemon Leaf Green, you would have received the defense form. And in Pokemon Emerald, you would have received the speed form. Though Fire Red and Leaf Green are the only ones that are really relevant for this Let's Play, but I might as well talk about each instance. As is the case with the Mystic Ticket and Naval Rock, as well as the Mew event, you cannot visit Birth Island and catch Deoxys legitimately anymore. So that is all the events that I wanted to talk about today. However, there is one more thing that I want to do today. If you have since completed the Team Rocket quest in the Sevi Islands and returned the Sapphire to Celio, there's another special Pokemon that you have an opportunity to catch. This Pokemon is roaming throughout the Kanto region. And the best way to ensure that you encounter it is to use a repel in an early route and see if it spawns. If nothing spawns for a while, you want to reload the area. And you want to keep doing this until you find something that isn't a regular encounter. This may take a while, so I'll be back once we've found it. Wait, 2 important things I almost forgot. 1, the Pokemon that you're looking for will be level 40. So if you're using repels, you're going to want a Pokemon that's level 40 or below, but still higher level than the other Pokemon you can find here. So I have Psyduck in the front of the party for this purpose. Second off, you want to save your game before doing this. I highly recommend you do so. Otherwise, you may be hating yourself. Trust me, you want to do that. So anyway, back to running around in circles. Oh, is this it? Yes! Okay, it's actually level 50, not 40, but hey, this is the legendary Pokemon Suicune from the Johto region. Now, a few important things to note here. Suicune is a part of a trio of roaming Pokemon. Suicune will appear if you have chosen Charmander as your starter. Suicune has the moves Bubble Beam, Rain Dance, Gust, and Aurora Beam, and it is a pure water type. If you chose Bulbasaur as your starter, you would instead run it into Entei, which is a fire type with the moves Ember, Roar, Fire Spin, and Stomp. If you chose Squirtle as your starter, you would encounter Raikou, a pure electric type with the moves Thundershock, Roar, Quick Attack, and Spark. All 3 of these legendary beasts have the ability Pressure. For this fight, I'm going to highly recommend that you have saved your Master Ball. This is the purpose that I wanted it to be used for. So we're just gonna throw it. 1, 2, 3. And we've got it. Now, the important thing to note is that if you don't have the Master Ball, you're gonna have a hard time with this. Each of the legendary beasts will attempt to flee the battle after every turn, meaning that you will have to go and find it again. Though it will maintain however much damage you've dealt to it and whatever status condition you've inflicted on it. So if you got it down to half health and it's paralyzed, then it will stay that way for the next fight. However, with Raikou and Entei specifically, they also have the move Roar, which also ends the battle. But due to a glitch in Fire Red and Leaf Green, that causes the game to treat it as if you've defeated them, thus making it so that you won't be able to encounter them again. Suicune does not have this issue, but with Raikou and Entei, beware. Suicune, the Aurora Pokemon. This Pokemon races across the land. It is said that north winds will somehow blow whenever it appears. You were getting sent to the PC. Another thing to note is that another glitch with the Legendary Beasts is that their individual values, or IVs, will all be very low except for their HP. Again, due to a glitch. I should also mention that if you do not have the Master Ball, your best bet for trying to beat them is having a move like Block or Mean Look, which will lock them into the battle. I forget if Roar overrides that or not. If it does, I'll put it up on screen. But your best bet there is to just try to lock it into battle and inflict a status condition and hope for the best. But otherwise, I highly recommend using a Master Ball on them, and also do not save your game afterwards if you happen to fail the encounter. Make sure that you save beforehand. But with that roaming legendary captured, why don't we head back to Pallet Town and say hi to Professor Oak. Professor Oak, why don't you evaluate my Pokédex?
Good to see you. How is your Pokédex coming along? Here, let me take a look. The amount of progress you've made on your Pokédex is 145 Pokemon seen and 65 Pokemon owned.
Professor Oak's rating?
Ho ho, this is turning into quite the respectable Pokédex. And your national dex is 180 Pokemon seen and 70 Pokemon owned. I'll be looking forward to seeing you fill the national Pokédex.
As I've said before, we're not going to be filling the Pokédex entirely. That would take way too long. But for what it's worth, we've gotten a good amount of Pokemon, and the amount I have is effectively all you need for doing all there is to do in the game, other than, of course, completing the Pokédex. You needed only 60 to actually get the National Dex from Professor Oak, so that's the absolute minimum you need to get a reasonable amount of, like, everything that you can in this game. But with that all said and done, I believe that is a good place to stop for today. And with only one thing left to do, next time on Pokemon Fire Red, we're going to be rematching the Pokemon League. See you guys then.